Hello, everyone who's joining. We'll wait for about 5 minutes to start, and then I'll introduce myself and we'll begin. Ladies and gentlemen, who has just joined, my name is Gleb. I'm CEO of the company BIS. I will host today's session. Let's give it a couple more minutes. Minute or two. We have about 30 people who are supposed to join, so we'll wait for like 1 or 2 more minutes, and then I'll start the presentation. So we'll probably start slowly, and then whoever joins will have to catch up. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining us today. That's the first session of its kind we're running, and really looking forward to sharing some of the things that we've acquired and prepared for you this time. As I mentioned before, I'm CEO of the company called BIS. We are the largest in Eastern Europe manufacturer of parking and access control solutions. Um, and today it's less about us and more about what's happening in the industry and how can you, as system integrators or industry players, uh, cash in these trends in 2025. So before I begin and tell you about the agenda, let's see if you can hear me. There are interactions of emojis in Teams, so put the thumbs up if you can hear me. Super. Pleasure. Very well. All right. So what we're going to talk about today are four things. First of all, for those of you who are slightly newer to parking and access control solutions, I'll start with a very brief and quick overview of what the solutions are. Then we will speak about the main thing about the trends in parking and access control happening at the moment and affecting the next year. After that, we will speak about the role of AI because like it's 2024, 2025. AI should be on the trends, right? And then we will finish with how you can start a system integrator. So let's begin. What is parking and access control? Before I do a very brief overview, uh, thumbs up if you have worked with parking or access control before, so I could have some brief understanding of who is from the industry and who is not. I see two people raised hands. Good. Yeah, I understand it's a thumbs up. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Super. All right, so we have some people with the understanding. Let me give my own overview of what it is. So, if we speak about the parking solution, we at this separate it into four key areas. It's basically controlling of how the vehicles are entering and exiting, whether it's on street or off street, controlling all of the processes that are happening on the car park, whether it's EV charging or it's a guidance of the vehicle to a particular area, and some payment and validation processes related to that. I will cover that more on the next slide. If we speak about the access control, the key things that are there is obviously, in addition to the access control itself, it's the work time tracking, visitor management, and membership management. If we look at the parking solution, that's overall how it looks like technically. You have a database, whether it's a cloud base or local, where the software runs. This software connects to a control module, which is either one for the entire car park or one for every entrance and exit point. And this control module is controlling various elements. For example, it's controlling the validation means like ANPR camera, could be also a QR code validator, RFID cards, etc. It's controlling the LED display that gives some guidance to the drivers, controlling the barrier if there is any, and it's controlling the payment processing. For example, the physical pay station or virtual software which processes the payments. That's overall how it looks like technically from an installation point of view. If we look at the functions and at the core system elements, obviously at the very core, on the very top, you have the parking management system, or so-called PMS, that processes everything. On the second layer, you have access devices. So the system elements that control how the vehicle enters or exits. And the most common things are the entry-exit terminals that print the QR codes and scan the QR codes. Obviously, the barriers, if there are any. ANPR cameras, together with the ANPR engine that processes the license plate data. It's important to mention that not often you need the super professional ANPR cameras. You can run the ANPR engine and buy slightly cheaper cameras if the system allows so, or you can have multiple cameras connected to one ANPR engine and running simultaneously if you need to validate data from two cameras in order to ensure that this is actually the exact vehicle that we are looking at. The third layer is the payment layer. What you can pay for and what you can pay through. For example, you can pay through tenant and subscriber portal, where your tenants, if we're speaking of business centers, can enter, buy the permits, manage their own employees, etc., etc. You can pay through the physical pay stations, or as in some regions in the world, parking payment meter. You can pay for the physical cashier, where you have a physical person sitting at the parking and selling and processing payments for the parking. And you can pay for the mobile payment hub. And the fourth layer we have is the monitoring and enforcement layer. Uh, Obviously, the crucial part of it is the hardware monitoring software, where you see everything that is happening with your software. You're able to update it. You're able to see if this is a cash solution, how much cash you have in each parking payment meter, etc. Alerting and notification. And then in red, you have enforcement devices and enforcement software. This often affects the parking control system from a hardware and software perspective, but this is a slightly different business that enforcement companies are doing. This is why we have it in red. And it's also a business that is scaling down at the moment for one simple reason. Um, and I will come to that reason later on the next slide. And the final layer, the fifth layer, is the guidance. Parking guidance in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years has been a very, very important element that was trending. And we see that in 2024 and in 2025, it will continue. It's booming for like one reason that I will mention later on in the presentation on the trend side. But what it contains the parking guidance system, that system that is processing the data and telling vehicle where to drive or where is the nearest location where the vehicle can park. LED displays and signage, which show where to go. Cameras. So in the outdoor parking, especially at the moment in 2024, the cheapest and the most cost-efficient solution you can use is using CCTV cameras and some engines that process the data from CCTV cameras and digitalize the parking map and recognize which parking lots are free and which are occupied. Or alternative to the cameras, you can also use the physical sensors, especially on the indoor parking lots, to identify if the parking lot is free or occupied. That's a very brief overview. So we can make it a little bit more interactive. I mentioned about the parking enforcement. I want to ask you one question, and there is going to be another one later in the presentation. And for those of you who are the most active and give the most precise answers, we have a gift. It's digital, so wherever in the world you are based, you will receive it. And let's say it's going to be a little Christmas present. So yeah, the first question I have today is, what do you think is the Google rating of the fifth largest parking operator in Eastern Europe? It's a question, let's say, with a star. You can write your answers in the comments section in the Teams. I hope you have access to that. And I'll give you a minute to do it, and then I will announce who is the winner. Thumbs up if you see the chat before we, because I see that there are some people typing, but can everyone see the chat? Good. Okay. Some people are writing. Good. Yeah. So what's the rating? The rating of the fifth largest parking operator in Eastern Europe? Google rating. For those, to make it easier, it's 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. Anyone else? 4.1. All right. We got some answers, right? 1.1. Edgar Sporitis. All right, Edgar Sporitis is our colleague, and I would assume that this is cheating, so this answer doesn't count. But actually, yes, it's 1.1 out of 5 with 429 reviews. And coming back to the topic that I mentioned of parking enforcement services, this is where it gets tricky. Like in any other business or industry, a company with an average rating of 1.1 and with that amount of reviews would just not exist. But parking is a commodity, and you park somewhere not because you like the car park, but because you need to be in that particular area. And in the last couple of years, we've seen that more and more landlords are like looking at the quality of their car park and the way people treat the car park and the way they value it. So companies are trying to go away from the parking enforcement and make it not a fine-based business where parking operators make money out of fines, but make it as a business where you make money out of transactions. So this is why parking enforcement is slowly going down, down, and down, and parking management systems are like being installed more and more often. So that's a quick intro of the parking control. Let's go to the access control solution part. Again, another similar diagram with how it looks like. You have a database, again, where the software runs. You have a control module, which is connected to the database wirelessly, or they're on the same network. And the control module controls different things like breathalyzer for alcohol detection, like turnstile or physical doors for entrance and exit control, like face recognition module, and some other elements that are installed there in the building. Again, same way we describe it, you have the software running on the top layer. Under that, you have access elements, so the elements which the system can control. It can either be turnstiles, doors, smart lockers for especially the spa centers or fitness centers. It can be the breathalyzer as well for the alcohol detection. Third layer, you have the means of authentication. So how the system can identify that it's you. Mobile app, face recognition camera, RFID cards, tags, etc., QR codes, NFC cards. There are a few other that can be added to that, but these are the most common. Fourth layer, you have monitoring and tracking system, where you have the software, we call it the Guardian software, that allows the employees of the company to see what's happening, how many people are in each of the particular area. You have obviously alerting and notification. You have a separate work time tracking section for the employees to see how much time they've spent in each of the particular areas. And you have an HR management part of the system for the human resource group in the company to manage the payroll, etc. And then you have the fifth layer, security, again in red, because it's kind of very often it's not considered as part of the access control, and it's mostly like integration elements like alarm systems, like video management software with CCTV cameras, sensors, and detectors. But as some of you know, it's a very common practice to also sometimes integrate them together with the access control system. So we've done the first part, let's say the easiest and the least interesting part with the overview. Let's now get to the trends that are happening in 2025. And I'll cover parking and access control separately, speaking about the three major ones in each of the segments. So which three we're going to cover in the parking? First of all, it's going to be the pursuit to reduce CO2 emissions. Second, the significant expansion of the EV charging infrastructure. And third is the next generation base stations. All of these trends they sound easy, but actually they are quite complex and interesting themselves. And there are quite a lot of things where companies like you, like the system integrators, can make money. So first, pursuit to reduce CO2 emissions. In the last couple of years, there has been a lot of statistics all over the world and analysis of how much time drivers spend on parking. And on average, it's 17 hours per year, each of us who is driving is spending to locate the parking lot. And that's a lot. And it's not just about the time, it has a huge economic impact on the countries. It costs 345 euros in lost time fuel and CO2 emissions. And in more advanced, more expensive countries, this figure can be 2-3 times higher than that. And obviously, there are environmental concerns. When we are looking for the parking lot, we are producing CO2 emissions. And when the car is looking for the parking lot, what you normally do? You accelerate, drive somewhere, then you slow down, you look for the parking lot, you don't find one, and you accelerate once again. So you produce much more CO2 emissions than you would if you knew where to go immediately. So for this reason, the in the last year, and the last year the trend started, but in 2025 it's going to be booming. We've seen a huge request for the parking guidance, free space recognition parking guidance systems. For example, in the European Union, there are even some grants that European Union is providing to the companies for installation of the following systems in order to reduce CO2 emissions. And those systems can reduce the CO2 emissions by about 35%, which is a huge number if we look at it globally. And we will see that more and more both the government owners of the car park and the individual real estate owners will be putting more money, regardless whether it's indoor or outdoor car park. They will be looking to install those systems because there are clear benefits, not just environmental and financial, but also reputational. If the car comes faster and parks faster, they will be more satisfied. So that's the first one. Second one, rising EV adoption rates. So obviously, like all of you know, I assume that EV charging market is booming and has been booming for the last 3 years, as we've seen. And there are expectations that by 2030, 30% of all vehicle sales will be electric. We already know that from a regulation point of view, 10% of parking spaces in newer renovated buildings have to be equipped with EV charging infrastructure. That's a lot if we speak about the numbers. And recently, what is affecting the trend where all of us can make money and some new customers? Recently, all over the world, especially in Europe and Middle East, there has been a global demand to make the EV charging payment more accessible. Because when it started, it was first free because it was like very, very uncommon. Then the payment apps appeared. So there was an availability to pay for the EV charging through the payment apps. And now everyone understands that you can have tourists, you can have a parking payment app wars, where in one parking lot you can pay for EV charging through one app, and next door you have to download the other app to pay for it. So the governments are trying to standardize this process. And to do it, they require charging to be available to be paid instantly using your physical card or the phone. So it means that you need to have the physical payment terminals at every car park where you have the EV chargers. And this is what is shifting. And when the government starts talking about it, we see that a lot of EV charging infrastructure providers and a lot of private landowners who have EV charging, they start investing money into the physical payments. And they're obviously looking for how they can make it cheaper for them, because if you put a separate payment station, a large one for every single charging station, it's very inefficient financially. It's probably never going to pay off. So there are more and more solutions that appear in the market, which allow you to provide this service cheaper. So this is what is happening. So if you have customers who have EV chargers or are looking to install EV chargers, this is something that could be in a very huge interest for them. Obviously, I'll cover the next steps in the last slides of the presentation. The third trend in the parking area that is happening is the change of the base stations in generations. So what was there before? There were a lot of base stations that were installed in the car parks, both on street and off street, that kind of got outdated. Like the average lifetime of the base station is about 7 to 8 years, but to save money, governments often and private owners often extend it to up to 15 years. But even after 15 years, this old base station has to be removed. And what is happening? First of all, there are newer base stations which look much nicer. They're much more ergonomic. They have large touch screens. They are friendly for disabled people. So those stations start to appear on the market. But they look nice. And if you have a new car park, it's a very cost-efficient solution for you to install. But there is a problem. If you have a huge infrastructure, let's say you're a municipality, you have hundreds or thousands of base stations. You have the old, apologies for my wording, the old crap that you need to do something with. You either throw it away and you have CO2 emissions uh, to do something with it, to utilize those, or the second option that basically started to appear in the last 1.5 years, you can retrofit them. So what is happening when we retrofit the base station? We take out all of the stuff that is unnecessary, but we leave the stuff that can be kept. For example, we can keep the housing because it's the same metal, it looks good. Why don't we keep it? We can keep some of the things for the newer base stations, like some of the things that can still be used, like the coin processors or the banknote processors or like the routers that connect the base station to the internet. But the stuff that is outdated is being replaced. And this is a very, very cost-efficient solution that saves customers a lot of money. And so we get to the second part, the second part of the quiz. I'll give you another question, which I would like you to answer. How much do you think a customer can save by retrofitting 200 base stations instead of buying the new ones? So let's say if they bought the new ones, it would cost them that amount of money. Retrofitting that cost them a different amount of money. How much you think they could save? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Nobody saw it, right? I just shown the answers. But if someone didn't see it, you can still write it in the chat. 100,000. 30%, 10%. All right. I'll give you 10 more seconds if someone else wants to write the answer. Again, there is going to be a gift sent to the winner. Right. I'm assuming everyone else saw the right answer. So yeah, the right answer, you can save about 1.2 to 1.4 million US dollars, which is about 70% of the cost. So if you retrofit, compared to if you buy the new ones, you save about 70% of the cost. And if we scale it up to the larger numbers, because 200 is not that much for especially a municipality, these numbers grow exponentially. So access control trends in 2025. There are three main ones that I want to highlight. First one is the rise of the biometric access control. Second is the unified access control systems integrated with the systems like building management systems or the visitor management systems. And the third one is the increased adoption of mobile and cloud-based solutions. So if you speak about the biometric access solutions, the rise of the biometric access solutions started in the era of COVID, when you didn't only need biometric access solution because like you tried to limit the amount of physical contacts, but you also needed things like temperature detection, and the biometric access solutions often could provide it. But it ended up to be much faster, and companies are now understanding it that the entry with the biometric access solution takes 5 seconds compared to 10, 15 seconds if we use the physical card. It also ended up to be much more flexible because you could enhance it with additional features like alcohol detection, and you cannot use alcohol detection without the biometric, like without the face recognition, because it would just make no sense. Because anyone else can scan your card, and that's it. You understand. Second of all, you could also enhance it with the features like temperature control, which is still, we see, even though the COVID is over, it's still a very popular feature by, for example, large manufacturers to install a temperature detection to make sure that there are no ill employees coming with the temperature to the manufacturing facility, because the cost of that could be much higher if more people get ill. And it also saves time, about 30% of it. So it's 6,000 hours annually for a facility with 500 employees. You can imagine, like, if 1 hour of employee costs, let's say $20 minimum, just calculate the numbers and you will get quite a huge saving and return on investment by just installing the face recognition. And why exactly in 2025? After COVID, in Europe because of GDPR, in the US because of the similar regulation in Middle East, which is partially copying the EU, or like not copying, following part of the EU legislations or the UK legislations. Right after COVID, everyone was asking, like, okay, face recognition, but what about GDPR? And companies were curious, they were looking for legal ways to make face recognition safe from a GDPR perspective. Now in 2025, we see that the solution is found and that lawyers now know how to install and make it safe for both the companies and the employees. And the system, the face recognition starts to be booming. So this is why it's going to be a major, major trend. Second, we have the unified access control system integration with things like BMS systems. Why it is rising? Of course, like, it's much easier when you have a centralized system where one person can operate everything. It saves a lot of money. You don't have to have 3 skilled engineers. You can have one who works with the system. It also allows you to cut energy costs. So, for example, if the access control system knows that at the moment there is only 20 people in the building, it means that you can produce less heat, or you can reduce the ventilation machine operation percentage, etc. So yeah, these are some of the reasons why it's growing. So it's very important that the access control systems that you provide in the 2025 have a public API that can be used to integrate with the BMS part. And it's also important to know some of the arguments that can allow you to sell your system compared to the competitors because of this seamless integration with other systems. And the third trend is the growth of mobile and cloud solutions. I think, personally, to me, this is one of the most pleasant things to see, both in the parking and access control market, because even 2 years ago, even like 5 years ago, especially 2 years ago also, most of the solutions, I would say 85 to 90% of them were desktop based. So it means that for the owner and manager, it was a pain. Like, you you had to give a physical computer to an employee. Very often you had to set up a VPN for this employee to monitor the system. If you used MacBook instead of Windows, yeah, you were not able to use the system because iOS just wouldn't support the application, etc. Now we see that the trend is there. The trend is booming, and basically customers are no longer looking for desktop applications. They're looking for cloud-based or cloud-based installed on-prem, which you can access through a browser, um, because it saves the costs, it simplifies operations, and it's not just a cost of maintenance, you also save on the servers. If you can install it cloud-based, you don't need to install the physical servers for a few thousands US dollars. So why not to do it? So this is definitely something that we see is being asked a lot in 2024 and will be in the 2025. Now let's get to the cheesy part, AI, which is obviously everywhere in the news, in the media talks, etc. And there are a lot of companies in the parking and access control market who say that they have an AI solution. So let's see whether it is the case or not. So these are some of the things that the companies on the industry are saying. First, some are saying that they have AI-powered ANPR engine, so license plate recognition engine, which gives the better accuracy. Second, some companies that are saying that they have proactive maintenance for access hardware. So AI is monitoring the hardware and letting you know where you should do some proactive maintenance in order to avoid costly repairs. Third are the AI analytics for real-time insights. And the fourth is AI-driven dynamic pricing for optimal revenue. Now let's see what is actually true and what is false. So AI-powered ANPR for unmatched accuracy. Unfortunately, yet this is not happening. This is the marketing lie, let's say, because simply AI is not so capable to operate in real time that fast, and the systems are simply using standard optical character recognition, so OCR technology, to read the license plates. AI is not there. AI can be used sometimes to analyze the data afterwards, but this is not a real-time accuracy, and this is nowhere near being used to instantly detect whether the vehicle is allowed to enter or not allowed to enter. Second, which is actually true, predictive maintenance for access hardware. AI is being used to monitor hardware and tell users and maintenance companies when to do the maintenance proactively. Third, AI analytics for real-time insights. Most cases, it's just a statistics dashboard with no predictive modeling, anomaly detection, or adaptive learning. However, we see that there are companies who start providing it. It's ourselves at BIS are doing some like successful experiments to start providing it next year. So it will definitely be the first thing from AI that will come. But yet to date, there are no companies, at least from the big players in the industry, who are doing it and doing it successfully and not lying here. And then AI-driven dynamic pricing for optimal revenue. It's similar story as with analytics. The pricing changes at the moment are predicted based on preset rules, like peak hours, lower rates, etc. But definitely AI will come and play here probably in the middle or in the second part of 2025. Why, and how to use AI correctly. So first of all, our suggestion is to avoid reputational risks. So selling overhyped solution that doesn't deliver is or overpromises damages to trust with the clients. So it's better to say what it actually is, and we see from our customers that it's being valued a lot, because in 2023 everyone heard the word AI. In 2024 everyone understood that not everything that was promised from an AI part actually was a reality. Then focus on proven solutions. And the third one, differentiate your offer. So we see a real value of educating clients about real versus fake AI and position yourself as a knowledgeable partner. Last part of the presentation, we are here, and I hope you can still hear me and you're not sleeping, right? So how can you start? 4 key tips I'm going to give. First of all, speak to the local municipalities. They have budgets that are being increased because of the CO2 reduction necessities, because of the pay station replacement necessities, and they are ready to invest, especially when your solution allows them to save money directly or indirectly. By indirectly, I mean on CO2 emission reduction. Second, reach out to facility managers for the manufacturers, for example, or to facility managers for the office centers, and evaluate whether they're prepared for local regulations, like having enough EV chargers for the parking lot. And if they don't, they will definitely be asked to install more in the next coming years, and they will definitely be asked to provide the physical payment on these pay stations. So it's an opportunity for you to sell them your solution. Third, analyze new construction projects in your area and promote the integrated solutions to solve multiple problems at once. Again, I think here all of you know how to work, and this is one of the key revenue streams for the system integrators. You can definitely stand out with the solutions that are more advanced. And the fourth one is like a common thing: prioritize trustworthy partners with real products that solve real problems. And together with those partners, you can get better results because your clients will be educated and your partners will help you to distinguish and to understand what is needed for the clients. From me, this is everything for today. I will pass to the Q&A session if any of you have any questions. So feel free to either raise your hand, turn on the microphone and ask the question, or write the question in the chat. And if there are any, and if there aren't, we'll definitely look forward to work with some of you in the future. But let's pass to the questions. I see that someone.
Hi, I would like to first of all thank you for this enlightening brief and presentation. Definitely, automation and future technologies in the car park systems is one of the key elements, and just wanted to thank you again for this session and all this organization.
Thank you, Sang. That's a pleasure, and thanks for saying that. That means a lot to us. Yeah, I see that there are some more people commenting in the chat. Yeah, appreciate. So, look, everyone. I see that there are no more questions likely. So my contacts and the contacts of our team are here. We are obviously, I said that I'm not going to sell our solutions, and I hope I stood out by the promise until the very last slide. But if you are interested in finding the trusted partner in that area, we're definitely looking forward to working with you. So feel free to reach out to us, or
Yeah, just want to ask, Glebs, is that correct
correct,
pronunciation, your name?
correct.
Okay. On the operational aspect, how would you suggest, I mean, the modeling for the clients? Um, uh, I mean, for the operations, would you do yourself or would you hire somebody uh, to do it, operate it for the car parks? I mean,
Let me try to rephrase if I understood your question correctly. So there are two things, if we speak about the car park, two things
yes,
that need to be operated. One is the hardware, which is basically the role of you as a system integrator, or like if you don't provide those services, there are companies who focus on like physical service of the hardware.
yes,
Um, and the second one is the maintenance of the car park from a business perspective, like monitoring tariffs, etc., making sure that there are no cars parked illegally, etc., etc.
yes.
This part in the modern solutions is getting digitalized in most cases. So you reduce the necessity to hire the parking operator, and like part of it, the owner of the land can do themselves, um, like monitor tariffs because they set it for
Mhm.
themselves. And the other part, uh, like it's either the service company that is doing, or sometimes you can hire a very specific niche company that can do like just like car park cleaning, for example, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but we see that like the decrease of the necessity of having a physical parking operator, especially for the like private smaller car parks, business center car parks, is
Mhm.
getting more and more decreased.
I totally agree. I mean, these technologies would definitely reduce the number of staff that is required to operate. I mean, except cleaning. I mean, these are a hardcore human interference is required for those. Thank you. I mean, this is good enough. Thank you.
Good, good. Thank you for asking. All right. One last time, I'm gonna ask if someone else has any questions. Seems like Seems like no. I see that there are some people joining who just joined us. So if you just joined us, the presentation is over. So we started 45 minutes ago, but don't worry. I think our team has recorded the presentation, and we will be in touch with those of you who didn't make it on time. Um, but yeah, once again, I'm going to wrap it up then. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and upcoming Happy New Year. Uh, have a good business in 2025, and I hope with all of you we'll be in touch soon to do some business together. Have a good one. I just realized that I forgot to give the gift, but we'll give it to, I don't know if he disconnected. I think um, Dr. Laszlo Devay has been the most active one in the chat. So, yeah, I see. I talk to the presentation. Yeah, Karina, just make sure that we reach out to Laszlo and give the gift later. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Super. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.